take the word, you got pens, everybody got pens? Take the word marriage, take each letter from that word and write down what marriage, a definition for each letter,
What we think.
Yes, what you think.
It took me like 5 times.
So you can flip your paper on the back, take the word marriage, take each letter and define a word that starts with that letter. You can. What it means to you.
Pastor Ward,
Yes.
can you explain this for us?
Okay. So take the word marriage, put the paper on the back. So you don't see what ours
So
are.
you're gonna, no, so you're not looking at his.
Yeah, flip it over.
Do the same thing for marriage. And there you go. You got it.
And take the word marriage, take each letter, think of a word, and how that word describes a marriage. guys tell me when you're done. Still working?
Done.
Oh, you done? You still working? Yeah, still working. Done?
Bet you wish I was back at work.
Yeah.
You never use
It's just what you do.
Figured you'd be
Everything again when you're out for it.
Fake taxi.
You're doing pretty good, man. Keep it up. Ice cream. Very good.
All right, what do we got? Let's start with Ernest. Work our way up. M.
Ministry.
Meat?
Mate.
I don't get nothing for him.
Marvelous.
Marvelous.
It's an M.
M in Mary stands for marvelous, mate, ministry,
Magnificent.
Mutual.
mutual. I like that. I like that.
Very good.
Sue? Oh, yeah, we can go that way. Come on. Miss Rose.
I had Mr. and Mrs.
Mr. and Mrs. I like that. Louis?
Sure.
I like that too. Good. Sue?
Meat as in help meat.
Me?
Meat as in help meat.
Oh, okay. Good.
Magnificent.
Magnificent. All right, so I had, and you've probably already seen it, ministry, right? So after,
Wow, I never even looked at that.
is that right?
No.
Well, you're a minister, so
Okay.
I'm not surprised, right?
Wow.
Great minds think alike, right? So marriage to me is ministry, right? After being in the ministry, like I said, 38 or 39 years, I'm starting to lose the years now of doing this. The number one thing that I found out about ministry is being consistent. You have to be consistent, no matter what is going on. A lot of people never see the turn through difficult times because they give up in difficult times instead of remaining consistent in difficult times. So you guys that have been with me almost 20 years now. You've seen me as your pastor go through difficult times, but I don't think anybody could be 100%. Paul said that he was a wretched man and he came up short, so I can't definitely say that, I've been 100% consistent, but I've been consistent enough that you know what to expect, right? So when I stand up and speak, you have an expectation. You're never surprised. right? It's like consistent all the time. You know you're gonna get the Bible. I'm gonna say something stupid about myself. There's gonna be something funny. But, you know, you're gonna get something to make you go, oh man, think real hard, you know what I mean? So I find marriage to be the same way as ministry. So there can't be any effective ministry, none. A lot of pastors fail because they're not consistent, especially in hard times. Your marriage is going to go through hard times. Think about this. But if you look at your marriage as a ministry, let's get Danielle Jordan some paper. Oh, you got it already?
I grabbed it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you look at your marriage as a ministry, when you're going through hard times, let's answer this question. When you're going through hard times in the marriage, who's going through the hard times?
Both.
Both of you. Right?
Yep.
I kind of want to wait for Jordan to walk back in the room. So if you have somebody that's going through a hard time, and you're a Christian, what are you supposed to do?
Help them.
Let's use our word.
Minister.
You're supposed to minister to them, right? Well, how comes in marriage, when we're going through a hard time, we seem to get mad instead of minister? Because when you're going through a hard time, who's going through the hard time? We'll use Miss Herbster's M's, Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. are going through the hard time. You have to look at it when you're going through hard times that your spouse is having a hard time. Right? But we want to be selfish. We only want to see that we're having a hard time. Right? And so often what that leads to is somebody waiting on somebody else to either apologize or fix the problem, and it just ends up being finger pointing. That's why marriage to me is ministry, and it's consistent ministry. It's consistent ministry. You're constantly ministering to your spouse. They should know that they can rely on you in a hard time in the marriage to be the one that steps forth with a ministering attitude. That's pretty good, ain't it? I think that's pretty good. How many would rather have somebody ministering to you instead of being mad at you? Who would exchange that? Do you want somebody just being mad at you when you're having a hard time? So say something that's not, that both of you are dealing with, just one person's having a hard time. Do you want that person being mad at you because you're having a hard time? Or would you rather them minister to you? So how can your spouse minister to you when you're having a hard time? Talk about it, write it down so you don't forget it. A lot of these things we're writing down, I'm telling you, you can go back and say, hey, we talked about this in class. Not in a smart way, but to remind them, right? We talked about this. So if your spouse is having a hard time, how can you minister to them? Pick up your bootstraps. Or lace up your boots. Is that how you say it? How do you say it? How do you say it?
Pull yourself up by your
Pull yourself up. Thank you, Sue. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Pull yourself up. Pull yourself up. How many know it's hard sometimes to pull yourself up? Right? It's very hard sometimes to get the energy when you're having a hard time to pull yourself up. You need somebody else to help you. And nobody should be more concerned about you than your mate, right? Your mate. Your mate should be the person who's most concerned about you. So if you don't feel that in your marriage, you need to talk about that. If you don't feel like your mate really cares about how you feel do need to tell them. Why? Why? We already used the word.
It'll make you mad.
Huh?
Make you mad.
It's gonna make you mad. You may not say it, but it'll just be in here, right? You'll be walking around mad. So M in marriage can stand for mad too, right? Some people's marriage is just, they're just mad. People are mad. Someone's mad. Sometimes someone's totally oblivious and they're having a great time. And the other person's mad. And they can't even see it or don't even realize it. So, again, how can you minister? What can you do? Key to me is consistency. If you're going to minister, be consistent.
Could be kind.
Be kind.
Just talk about it, like communicate.
Communicate, right?
Yeah.
Work together on the problem.
Work together on the problem. Compassion. How about some compassion? Right?
Humility.
Humility, humbling yourself. How many know it's very hard to humble yourself? Isn't that like one of the hardest things to do? I'm telling you, man. It wears you out. We have so much pride. I'm telling you, I'm tired sometimes just from humbling myself. Seriously, I get tired. I'm like, man, I don't want to humble myself. It's too hard. It's easy being proud, man. It's easy being like, no one's telling me what to do. I don't care what nobody says. Right? That's easy. It's hard to humble yourself, man. But that does minister to people when you humble yourself. All right, what did you have for the next letter?
Start back around.
Yep, start with what you all have.
Appreciate
Appreciate.
and
Like that.
attitude.
Appreciate and attitude. Okay, explain what you mean.
The appreciation part of it is thanking them for being a part of your life, but approaching it with the right attitude, that they're not there to serve you, they're not there to meet all your needs. It's a commitment. So it's how you approach your marriage, your attitude in your marriage.
They're there to serve you, but they're not your slave.
Correct.
Right? That's what you.
Correct. Not at your every whim.
Right.
Right.
They're there to serve. We're here to serve one another in marriage, but we don't make a slave out of somebody. Right? One person's carrying 90% of the load. What you have?
I have the same thing.
Same thing. Appreciate. Come on, guys.
Agreement.
Agreement. That's what I have.
And agree.
Agree.
As did I, and I promise I didn't look at the other
That's
side.
okay.
I had amorous.
Amorous.
That's a good word. I gotta look
Okay.
it up.
All in.
All in.
Oh,
I like that. I like that.
I had all encompassing.
Yeah. That's a different all in.
Awesome.
Awesome. I must be doing pretty good. I'm getting magnificent, awesome.
Yeah.
So it took me 28 years to get that. I didn't get that overnight. Agreement. I had agreement. And the C under that I had cash. Because two things married couples seem to always fight about. Sex and money. Those are the two things that generally break up couples. Sex and money. Now, sometimes people are broken up even though they're still married. You guys understand that? And we'll get to that when we get down at the bottom there. But sometimes people are just together, but they're really not married anymore. They're just going through the motions. And don't feel guilty. Don't overthink that when I say that. You know, don't start getting too hard on yourself. But sometimes you just go through the motions. You can get there, man. You know? You should never fight about money. It was Tyler's birthday today. and I gave him $100 for his birthday. He put it in the side of, I don't know what you call that, in the door. What's that called in the door?
Door panel.
Pocket.
Pocket? Yeah, door pocket. Thank you. You'd be good on Jeopardy or something. Real quick. Pocket, yes. A door pocket. So he just put it there and he's going about his way. And I said, hey man, you left your money. And he said, oh, I don't even think about money. I understand that because I'm the same way. I'm his dad, so I understand I'm not a money person. So it's easy to get along with me with money. My wife takes care of all the money in the house. I have a little bit that I spend. And I don't really care about money. But sometimes you get two people that care about money. They like buying things, they like spending. And now you can have a problem. Right? If you don't agree on cash. As a married couple, it needs to be clear and it needs to be reviewed. Don't take for granted because you haven't talked about it for a while. You need to sit down and talk about your money. Sometimes it'll just happen, things will happen. Because like something was funny, Tina comes up to me, hey, did you get Tyler, money? I said, yeah. She said, you didn't put it in the birthday card or anything like that? She said, I wanted to put it together and put it in a birthday card. I was like, no, I just gave it to him. That's, that's how guys are. Nothing fancy, But that was actually a disagreement about money, But we didn't allow it to turn into something big. But sometimes people have real issues in marriage about money because they really don't agree on how it should be used and how it should be spent. You have to come to an agreement as a couple on how you're going to use money, or your marriage is going to be in trouble. You will be fighting all the time about money. And money's a problem anyway. For every couple, in some kind of way, money is a problem. But when you don't agree about money, it's even a bigger problem. Okay? I always suggest that one person pay the bills. And then after the bills are paid, and I also suggest that all the husband's money goes into one account. Okay? If she has an account, she should have her own account. If she wants to put her money in that account, that's fine. But if she doesn't, that should be fine too. The man's money should take care of the house. That's how I see it. That's how we operate. All my money takes care of the house. All the bills come out of my money. All her money is her money. One reason is usually men die way before their wives do. So you want your wife to collect as much money as she can. You guys looking at me like you hate me. You want her to have as much money as possible. You don't want her, we've seen it, man. I've buried people and I've watched, it's just sad. I want to help them, man. I've seen women suffer, not knowing what to do. Listen, here's what you want to do. Make sure you have an insurance policy, a nice size one, or get a couple good ones. Not just no $100,000, at least $500,000 insurance. We're not rich people. Some rich people can afford more. Regular everyday Joes, you should at least get $500,000. Okay? Because your wife's probably going to outlive you a lot of times 10 to 20 years. Don't you want your wife to be comfortable? I want my wife to be comfortable when I die. Right? So I was fixing the light, switching those old switches out in the house. She texted me and said, hey, make sure you turn the power off. I was like, I know how to turn, of course I'm going to turn the power off. I said, and then I sent her back a little emoji of a guy sticking something in and getting electrocuted. And she texts back, yeah, I can cash in. That's funny, but I'm glad she realizes
Oh,
that.
Lord.
You know, I'm glad she knows if something happens to me, she's gonna cry, she's gonna be missed, she's gonna miss me, she's gonna be lonely, but she's not gonna have to go, how am I gonna pay my bills? You see what I'm saying? That's where it's very important. Have insurance and get as much as you can afford on the guy. Okay? Get in agreement about that. You don't listen to nothing else I teach you in this class. Get in agreement about that. Guys, get as much of insurance as you can afford. Okay? All right, man, I'm not getting no love on that, man. R. Let's move to R. What we got?
Respect.
Respect. Nice. R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Relationship.
Relationship. Man to man.
Relationship.
Relationship? Relationship?
Recreation.
Recreation. Interesting.
Romantic. I'm on
Romantic.
this whole different wavelength. Amorous, romantic. I'm sending my signals.
He's like recreation. She's like romantic. Blue?
Relief.
Relief. How do you spell relief? For Lou, it's marriage. I like that.
Let's go home at night and see my wife.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
What a relief. I know that's right, brother.
Yeah.
Sue?
Real.
All right now. I'm never surprised at Sue's answers. Real. Get real about it. How many want a real marriage?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It'll make marriage will bring the real out of you.
Oh, yeah.
How many have found that out?
Hello.
You can't hide who you really are long in marriage. So there's been a who was it?
Kids stop snoring,
Oh, C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis. He's talking about how, you know, some women, you know, they act like they're so, you know, sensual and you know, like they're so sexy. This is C.S. Lewis. He says, and then when they get married, the husband finds out they're just a cold fish.
Hello.
That's pretty bad. Right? That's pretty bad. Marriage will expose who you really are, which is a good thing. That we're going to get to that. That's a good thing, though. It's such a privilege being married because we get a chance to grow in ways that other people don't. And actually faster spiritually. When you're with somebody all the time, day in and day out, you can only fake for so long. If you're mean, eventually that person's going to be like, wow, where'd that come from? Well, it was there all the time. It just took a little bit of time in the right circumstance. And a lot of times when it happens, and I've seen this, the real person comes out and they never go back to the old person that they were. Right? The real person comes out and they're nasty and mean, and they never go back to that sweet, nice person that they used to get you married. And that's a bad thing, man. You know, so a lot of times you don't know who you're married to until you've been married for a while. If things come out in the early, when you're in the early part of your marriage, that's a blessing. It's a blessing because that gives you time to fix it. But when it comes out like in the middle, like after like 5 years, 7 years, and you're really locked into that person, and all these changes start coming, that's hard to deal with. So I have rewarding. Marriage is rewarding, should be an ing. And it is. You know, it's rewarding. Because again, you get to help somebody. And you get comfort. You should be getting confirmation of that help. that you're doing a good job. There's nobody that can make you feel better than when your spouse tells you you're doing a good job. Am I right or wrong, guys?
Amen.
Amen.
Come on, talk back to me. Some of you just looking at me. Am I right or wrong, Jordan? If your spouse tells you you're doing a good job, right? It feels good, right, Daniel? If he says, "Hey, man, that was an awesome dinner," you know, you're like, "Oh, you feel good." Makes you feel good, right?
It does.
Does, right? So that's what I said. When it's rewarding because it's comforting. Because you have this whole world out here. Everybody has jobs, and we're not always getting affirmed with what we do.
No.
We're not. I mean, right? I mean, you're on your job. Sometimes somebody's yelling at you, and you don't even know why they're yelling at you. You're like, dude, you know. I was at UPS. I worked at UPS, and that's the step. That's the place that you go. That's the next step to going to hell for eternity. I have found purgatory.
I hope nobody ever works there.
It's called UPS. Okay, night shift. Okay. It was so bad I literally had nightmares that I was stuck. I was stuck in UPS, running up and down the aisles, and these dogs were chasing me, and I couldn't get out. You know, it was like the hounds of hell. Listen, man. I'm in there, and you got to load. And it was a long time ago, so I was in better shape. You know, young guy, strapping me. So I'm doing a good job, Lou. I'm in there firing the boxes up, stacking up. I got real good at loading, man. So they're like, "Hey, man, we want to put you on this other belt since you got so good, and put me on this other belt. It's less stress, but it takes more speed and more eye, you know, so you go quick and have to move things." So I'm like, "Hey, I'm doing good." So move me up to the other belt, man. I'm up there killing that, and all of a sudden, the guy said, hey, man, somebody called off. We need you to go down here and get to this truck." So I get down there, like this, you know, go home, you get, you know, somebody tells you you're doing a good job. We're out here in this world. We got all these people always coming down on us. I get over there, man. I'm firing away, getting it done for him. All of a sudden, a box comes flying. Hits me. He's like, "Hurry up." And he didn't just say hurry up, he said hurry it up. And he's like at least 8 years younger than me. I ignored it. I just went right back to work. About 7 to 8 minutes later, here comes another boss. Bow. He said, "I said hurry the F." Oh, God. I said, "Dude, stop cussing at me." I said, "I don't cuss at people. Please do not cuss at me, man." "Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. We just got to get this done. Break time. Get a little 15-minute break. Come back. I'm trying to clean things up for him. I'm getting it done. He comes back in. "I said hurry the F up." I went, grabbed my coat, walked out. Now he's like, "Hey, where are you going? What's wrong? I said, "I told you don't cuss at me, man. Because I'm going to end up doing something that I'm going to regret if I don't leave." I didn't yell or scream, but I knew I was on that brink. And that was bad. And that wasn't the first time working somewhere and dealing with people. You don't get it. But you know what? If you go home and you're with your spouse and you never get affirmation that you're a good husband or a good wife, that's bad. And you know what? It's not lying. Sometimes you're motivating them. There's a difference between lying to somebody and motivating them. Sometimes you gotta tell them they're good when they're not that good. You guys don't like nothing I'm saying tonight. Seriously. It's motivation. Sometimes you have to tell them, "Hey, she's gonna cook sometimes and it ain't gonna be that good. You have to act like it's good." You understand what I'm saying to you guys? It's motivation. You can motivate somebody. I've done it coaching many times. I had some of the most terrible kids athletically. But by the time I got done with them, I had some girls that just flat could not sprint, but I worked with them so hard and put confidence in them. I kept telling them they were great. I kept telling them they were awesome. And 2 of them made it to the WPO finals in the 100. There's no way they would have ever made it. But I kept motivating them and telling them. You can't always tell your spouse that they're doing wrong. Or treat them like they're a criminal. Sometimes you have to motivate them by saying good things about them, even when they're not quite there yet. You guys understand that?
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yes.
All right. R, next door.
Yeah, whatever.
Rewind.
Rewind. Okay, what's that mean?
Sometimes you gotta hit the pause button and rewind. You know, you might be in an argument or anything.
Yeah, that's good.
Rewind.
I like that. So what you're saying is, don't let it go too far. I like that.
I was rewarding
On that one, okay?
Respect.
Respect? No, being a man.
I told him to put retire. I put realization.
Realization?
I'm real, and Sue, I didn't look at your paper.
Real?
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Reasonable. That's a good one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, what you got?
Reliable.
Reliable. Reliable. Very good. Sue?
Restful, relaxing.
Restful and relaxing. Absolutely. Marriage should be.
Responsibility.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
What did you say? Resourceful? No.
Reasonable.
Reasonable. Why did I get resourceful? And what'd you say?
Real.
Real. And Lou, you said
Reliable.
reliable. Somebody said something that stuck out. What you said?
Realization.
Realization. He said rewind.
I was rewarding.
You said rewarding.
Respect.
Respect, that's the one. Because it was up at the other one too. Respect, yes. Let's talk about respect. I have rules. But let's keep respect in the back pocket for a second. We'll come back to that. I have rules. Your marriage should have basically a set of commandments, spoken or understood. There should be rules in your marriage, right? Like you don't come home at 1 o'clock at night. I don't care where you are. Unless something went wrong, you don't come home at 1 o'clock. Okay? Now, when you're in your 20s and you're married, you might get away with that a couple of times. Okay? But when you get a little older, huh?
No.
No?
No, you don't get away.
No?
No, you're wrong. Nothing good happens after midnight.
Well, that depends on if you're playing Nintendo.
Nothing good happens after midnight. Even playing Nintendo.
Like, my opinion.
Okay.
When you're young, a lot of times, you know, they're hanging out with their friends. She might be hanging out with her friends. You might be hanging out with your friends. You might be in situations where you're hanging out a little bit. But as you get older, now it comes into play where you have children. They got to go to school, right?
Yeah.
You got a job that requires you. When you're young, it's like you stay up, get up in the morning, 3 hours of sleep, you're ready to go. You start getting older, you got to handle your responsibilities different, even taking care of yourself. All those responsibilities get a little harder to do. But there should be rules in your marriage. How many have some rules in your marriage?
Unspoken was the.
Tell us about it.
We have a rule for Russ.
So we'll write down Russ's
Rules
rules.
for Russ.
No, he is not to, he works with a lot of women. There's mostly women. There's very few men working with. So, we've had this discussion. Like when he's had to go places with people he works with, he's never to be alone with a woman in the car when they're traveling. Or in any situation where he would be alone with a coworker who's a female.
Ever.
Ever.
That's easy.
You think Russ is hot, don't you?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's
There's
yours.
a rule, there's a rule that Sharon doesn't touch the tractor.
Okay.
She doesn't mow grass, she doesn't plow
There you go.
snow. So she doesn't touch the tractor. And I don't do the laundry because I had pink underwear for 2 weeks.
Anybody else got rules? Certain rules? Russ and Sharon, the only ones with rules.
She doesn't do my laundry.
Huh?
She don't do my laundry.
Yeah, you was telling me about that. So you don't do it, you do your own, huh?
Yeah.
Why?
But I like my stuff a particular way that she.
I put it all together. I hate laundry.
No, she's smart.
I was gonna say, she thought of that.
Yeah.
You want them done, they're getting thrown together. You don't, do them out.
So, no, so you can't do your
Well,
laundry?
yeah, I just like my stuff a certain way. Like I don't put anything in the dryer. She's not gonna have that. I don't do all that. I just got certain way.
Anybody else got rules? Yeah.
Don't cheat.
Don't cheat.
Don't cheat.
You cheat, see you buy.
Tina says that.
Hey,
We say that. We
Don't
say that right
pass
from the
go.
beginning.
Keep on
You're not collecting anything,
Just
see
keep
you buy.
stepping.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Sue?
I said, don't pass go, you're not collecting any money, see you buy.
Right.
Why is that important?
You took vows.
Huh?
You took
Keep
vows.
vows.
You took
You
vows.
buy.
Keep on stepping.
Compromises your trust.
Compromises your trust.
That union's divided.
And you are one. When you bring someone else in,
Yeah.
you brought them into your marriage.
Wait.
No
And
man
everything
should,
that comes
no
with
man
that.
should put us under.
It's just one man. Yep, that's it. And you've
man,
defined the
one
marriage
woman.
bed. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's the ultimate.
You know, we have a major problem in our culture with cheating.
Yes.
See, but the fallacy, this is the fallacy. This is the part of the lies that's going on about cheating in our culture. That should be a big rule, one of your commandments, no cheating. The fallacy about cheating today is now women are doing it.
Yes.
They've been doing
Like, somebody please think with some logic. They weren't doing it before, there wouldn't have been no cheating.
Right, yeah,
it. They've been doing
that's
it.
right. Takes two to tango.
Takes two to tango. Okay, let's ask a question. How many guys have been hit on by a woman? Raise your hand.
What?
How many guys have been hit on by a woman? Okay, case closed. We don't have to say anything else, right? I can say, how many guys been hit on by a married woman? Raise your hand,
Hey, raise your hand. It's been done right in front of me.
right? Okay, case closed, right? So this is nonsense that all of a sudden it's changed, like women are starting to do, women been doing this, and men been doing this, and everybody's wrong that's doing it, right? It's a bad thing, man, it's a bad thing. Are there cases where you think people can fix that in their marriage? When someone cheats?
What's that?
Do you think that some people can fix that when someone cheats?
I don't know, because once trust is gone, what do you have? It's hard to rebuild
I'm
that.
just saying, that would be the only.
Unless you
thing.
want that person up underneath you at all times, so you can, like, pretty much babysit them. What kind of marriage is that? I love them, but I'm not gonna babysit them.
Right, you wanna be mom.
So what do you think? Can that be fixed in a marriage?
Be tough.
I think so.
You believe it can?
You'd be very tough.
Why you said that?
In a Christian marriage, I'll say, because if whoever cheated, if she cheated, or if he cheated,
Right.
if the other person is Christian, they truly are Christian, they're going to forgive.
Right.
They're truly Christian.
And that's
Yeah.
no, well, yeah, true. That's true. But if and when it happens, if it happens, the spouse whoever, either he or she,
Mm-hmm.
if they're Christian, if they truly are Christian, they're gonna forgive.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's not even an
It's-
option.
The
it's-
only thing about being a Christian, I think, it's about love. You still love that person.
Yeah, if you cheated, how much do you love the person that you're with?
Yeah, but I mean,
To cause them hurt.
but love still conquers all. Like anybody can make a mistake.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
all fall short.
Absolutely.
So
You can't put yourself up too high in this kind of thing. This is very touchy and difficult. And it's more touchy today than ever because of so many different avenues hitting us. It's not like 30, 40 years ago. It's not the same world. People are being bombarded with things and ideas and thoughts and subliminal things that you're constantly being hit with. And people want to play today like never before. I mean, it's crazy. Like we were talking about, like even Michelle Obama was on TV with all this cleavage hanging out.
Oh,
You just constantly see this stuff that you wouldn't see before. It's like, why are you doing that? You know,
Women
you
are
were a
becoming-
first lady.
Women are pretty much taking over men's places. You have women sports announcers. They're all so they surround themselves by.
And they go in the locker rooms.
Yes, they do.
Exactly.
Till
They
God
go
drops
in the
down.
locker rooms when the guys are coming out of the shower.
Sure
You
enough.
have women doing
People don't know
construction
that.
jobs. I mean,
Yeah,
One football player got in trouble for that,
yeah,
dropping the towel.
yep.
Yeah.
So we do have a problem there in our culture.
Tough one.
I think that the way I look at that is
Ooh.
the two individual people have to decide if they can work it out. If they can work it out and want to work it out, then if they're surrounded by a church community, that church community should support them.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be like, whoa, but you don't make the, I've had people come to me and ask me, I said, I'll never tell anybody to get a divorce.
Right.
Okay. Even for something like that, that's not my job. It's your job to figure that out.
I guess I'm a little biased because it happened to me before.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have it happen to you, you sometimes forget that things do happen. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
once you've been hurt or affected in a negative way, you become sometimes prejudiced to that situation.
Right.
And I'm guilty of that, you know, before. You're absolutely right, you know, if someone falls, why is sin, the ultimate measure of sin is cheating? Why is that? You know what I mean? When we all do our own
Yeah,
things.
and exactly right, because over, we were talking about the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
In one of the works we're talking about the works of the flesh and the fruit of the Spirit, and one of the works of the flesh is adultery. Next one is fornication. Next one is uncleanness. Next is lasciviousness. Then idolatry, witchcraft, hatred. They're all listed in the same list. You see? So we can't say, because he makes it very clear when he gets down to verse 20 of Galatians chapter 5, that they that do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. He put them all in the same category. We tend, like you said, to make one sin bigger than the other. It does affect us. Jesus did make it clear that a person can get divorced for that in Matthew chapter 5.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's not, you don't have to, you see. And again, I think it's up to those two people to figure that out. Yes.
I think we're forgetting one thing,
Mhm.
repentance.
I was gonna bring that up, yep.
Anyway.
If the person who fell
Mm-hmm.
truly repents, then it's up to the other person
Right.
to forgive them. If God forgives them, if they repent and the Lord forgives them,
Right.
casts their sin as far as the east from the west and remembers it no more,
Right.
how can you not?
You have to. And it doesn't mean you have to stay in a marriage legally. But even in those cases, it is still easier, believe it or not, overall, when you take into account everything that your marriage is and everything that's involved in your marriage, it's still easier to stay with that person. It's easier. It's harder to not stay with that person. If that person wants to work it out, if that person doesn't want to work it out and moves on, it's one thing. But if that person says, I'm sorry, and they repent, and you both cried out at the altar, and you retake new vows and start your marriage over, whatever you have to do, that's easier than getting a divorce. Because divorce is treacherous, painful, expensive, and just leaves a mark on you that is so hard to deal with, mentally, emotionally, and financially in every other way. All right, I.
Inconsistent.
Inconsistent.
Important.
Important. What do you mean?
That your spouse should be important to you. You know, your marriage and everything it means should be important to you, and you should stand up to that every day.
Mr. Retired?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. You got a friend in you now.
It's under.
That's my bride.
That's my
I like that. Ice cream.
That's funny, man. He said Barry's means ice cream. That's awesome. Bert?
Engage.
Engage?
Integrity.
Integrity? Integrity.
Irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable. Yes.
Invested.
Invested. Nice. These are better than mine.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Never
How many find marriage interesting?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
Not boring.
Jesus, Paul said it's a mystery, right? It's a great mystery. I forgot to say something about respect. How important is respect in a marriage? Because that was important. I skipped that. Huh?
Very.
Right? Respecting your spouse is extremely important. You should never do anything in the company of other people that shows you are disrespecting your spouse.
Amen.
That's all I want to say about that. That is like the worst thing in the world to me. Don't start no arguments in front of other people. Don't make no faces when your spouse says something in front of people. You have to act like everything's perfect. When you're standing at the grocery store in the line, you never do things that embarrass or act disrespectful to your spouse. Because to me, that is just, I cannot stand that. When I see, and a lot of times I hate to say it, but women with their husbands in grocery stores and stuff, and just yelling at them, and just saying the craziest stuff in front of people. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's wrong with you. You know, my wife would be walking home. I'm serious. She started acting like some of these women. They're yelling and screaming at them and saying that you're stupid and all this kind of stuff, and where people can hear it, like out in public. If you want to get behind closed doors and battle that out, that's one thing. But when you're doing that in front of other people, man, that is really, really bad. You're not only disrespecting that person, you're disrespecting yourself.
I was at work and I was in an elevator, and the couple was in the elevator, and I guess the wife had said something in regards to like overpass or underpass. And it was she called it a bridge, and the husband just kept, going at her saying, overpass, and she said, okay, well, you just let it go, right? And I was on the elevator with a few other people as well. He looked at me, and he had his like 3 little girls right there with him, and he said, don't ever get married.
See?
And then he looked and he goes, oops, too late. And when I left, I'm like, that's what he, you could see what he did to her. With that comment, said everything about her and what they were going through. And I thought it was the worst statement he could have ever made.
That's what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of that, man. man. It's like people just think they have a license just to belittle.
You see that on television. If you watch anything on TV, the male figure almost always seems to be a doofus.
Yeah,
Anyone who's Christian is a doofus.
right.
For some reason, when they make them out on TV. It's refreshing to see something like This Is Us, where the guy is, where Jack is just a regular guy.
Yeah.
Everybody watches. That's so crazy.
What?
Everybody watches that show.
Don't you like it?
Yeah. Everybody watches that show. That's crazy.
This is us.
Okay, what do we have? We went through that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, I had marriage as an institution, right? But you're not institutionalized,
I was thinking of that one.
right? Because marriage can make you crazy. That was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
Marriage shouldn't make you crazy. It's an institution, but you shouldn't feel institutionalized, right? Right. You get with the wrong person, though. Whoa, now we're going to talk about something. You guys done? Come on, share with us.
Oh, we were talking about a TV show, God Friended Me.
Okay, tell us what you were saying.
That we like that. I mean, my wife and I watched the TV show God Friended Me. If you guys haven't seen it, what it's about a gentleman who's not really convinced that God is real, yet God has proven himself to this young man, and he's going out sending different things via Facebook. So it's kind of like trendy with the world today, and he's sending different people to help every day.
That's going through
And
really bad crisis.
yeah,
and-
he's becoming more and more involved with, pursuing God. Maybe this is happening. And his dad
Is a
is
pastor.
Clifton Davis. He's a pastor. And it's a good TV show.
Yeah, I think they're trying to find a happy medium and creating some stuff that people can actually watch. Marriage is an institution. What do I mean by that? And when we say couple, what do we mean? Huh?
Togetherness.
Togetherness, what else do we mean? It's an institution. We have to say that today.
Partnership.
Partnership of what? Marriage is an institution. Been around since Genesis.
Two, a man and a
A
woman.
what?
A man and a woman, two people.
Would everybody just please help me? Just for people who are watching this on YouTube. Okay? On the count of three, let's say what it is. It's between what?
A
man and a woman.
Okay. Now, because I'm an American, and I believe in the First Amendment
Amen.
and the freedom of religion,
Amen.
Amen.
and that the government should not make any laws preventing me to be able to express my opinions about my religious beliefs.
Amen.
So I'm allowed to say, to me, marriage is an institution between one man and one woman. Period. No matter how unpopular that is. I'm allowed to do that. And I'll continue to do that until I die. If the whole entire world changes their mind, if every Christian changes their mind, you can come back to me if I'm still on this planet, and I'll still be saying the same thing. If they say you will be hung tomorrow, if you don't accept this, I'll get the noose and put it around my own neck. Because I believe that strongly what the Word of God says.
I'll hold up your left arm.
You hold my left arm?
Indeed.
Thank you.
It was an institution from the beginning, from Genesis.
Right.
That's how long. That's more than any other institution
That's exactly right.
around us.
It's the longest one in the history of the world.
And it was
In the
managed
history
by
of the
God.
world, the history of the world is on our side.
Yeah.
Chief Justice Roberts said we could not find any precedent in history to support this. This is the first time in history of the world that this has been done and accepted. And it's been done on our watch and done in our country. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And whatever, cost has to be paid to say that, I don't care.
Amen.
Because we are slowly causing our culture to deteriorate. When you dismantle the family, you're in trouble. And family starts, it's not husband and wife and children. Family literally starts with husband and wife. If you are a husband and wife, you are a family.
That's right.
All right, so it's an institution, it's a couple, but it's not supposed to institutionalize you and make you crazy. So, if marriage is making you crazy, it means that you married the wrong person.
Ella.
It means you married the wrong person. We're almost done. It means you married the wrong person. Now, watch. Can that be fixed? If you marry the wrong person, can it be fixed?
By the grace of God.
Huh?
By the grace of God.
Right. By the grace of God? What do we mean by that?
Parties are willing
Hmm?
to still continue. Both parties are willing to work it out and communicate.
Real quickly,
Find out what's wrong.
what's a sign that you married the wrong person?
Their interests might be different than your interests in certain things.
Their interests might be different.
Well, yeah, if you're married to, like, say you're married to somebody that wants to go to a bar and hang out, and the other person doesn't agree with that, or wants to go to the nudie bar, or wants to look at pornography, and you don't agree with that, that's a problem.
Unequally yoked.
Yeah.
You're a
Yep.
believer and you marry a non-believer. And oftentimes you get two non-believers and they get into a relationship and that non-believer becomes a believer and that other one's not up to speed. And now we've got a problem with beliefs here. And the other one feels like they're left out.
Right.
And the other one feels as though the other one can't keep up.
I've seen so many situations, and I tried to tell people before they got married, they need to reconsider what they're about to do. Because I could already see that they were about to marry the wrong person. And now some of these people are trying to come back and talk to me, and I'm like, I told you right from the beginning. It can be fixed if that person's willing to change, because it's a personality thing. See, everybody in here should be trying to be more like Jesus.
Yep.
So guess what? It can be fixed. If everybody in the marriage tries to be like the Lord, then we won't have the personality problems. Okay? I talked too much about all the other stuff. We had a late start, so we went over our time, but we really didn't go over our time. I don't want to miss these last couple. So please do not let me forget, because I'll bring something new and totally forget, okay? I want to remember to go over these last letters, okay? So don't let me forget. We're not going to bring nothing new. I want to go over these because it's important to talk about. All right? All right, thank you guys. Great job.